Imagine you accidentally drop your phone. The screen is pretty much cracked, but apart from that, it's alright. You're not freaking out though because your friend recently told you about a repairman that fixes phones for super cheap, way cheaper than the Apple Genius Bar. But as you go to get your phone fixed, the repairman says,
"I'm sorry, man. I can't fix this phone. This bitch is staying as cracked as Bonnie Blue on a Friday night. That's my bad."
Oh, sorry. Sorry. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. Oh, fuck off.
Wait a minute, what the hell? So you're basically saying that you can't fix my phone screen. How come?
Why? Why
Is this the case, you ask? Well, it's because Apple won't allow him to.
Stop! You violated the law.
What do you mean Apple won't allow you to? It's my phone, right?
But to your shock, you find out that if an unauthorized person replaces the phone's original screen with a knockoff one, the phone bricks itself. For those of you that don't know what the word bricked means in this context, it basically means that for whatever reason, the device has completely stopped working and is no longer usable, essentially making it nothing more than one expensive brick. It's basically just a lobotomy for your phone. It turns out that the phone will stop working not only if you replace the screen, but if you replace the home button too. This is exactly what happened to a lot of dissatisfied Apple users that tried to get their phone screen repaired back in 2018. And these are issues in repairability that have only been getting worse and worse each year since then. Imagine your electric bike battery dies and you go to a repair shop to get a replacement battery, but even when they replace it, the bike still doesn't work. You call the manufacturer up only to find out that the bike was made to purposefully stop working whenever any parts were added or taken away without authorization. Now, you've just wasted $2,000 on an electric bike that no longer works, and this is like completely legal. And it's just such a shame because that money could have gone to something important like gambling on college football instead. The truth is that as technology progresses and becomes more user-friendly, our ability to alter our devices has become more and more restricted. This happens with any device or vehicle, cars like Tesla, Apple products, Samsung, even something as small as an electric toothbrush has fallen victim to this. Pretty soon, somebody's gonna find a way to make you pay them for allowing your body to repair its own scratches and bruises. Companies will oftentimes do everything within their power to ensure that the product they sold to you is not modified or adjusted in any way by the user. In the past, the manufacturer of electronic parts would also sell these parts not only to the phone makers like Samsung or Apple, but to private consumers as well. If you wanted a certain part for your phone, like a TSMC semiconductor, for example, you used to be able to just go and buy one yourself. However, nowadays, most companies make these private exclusive deals with each other, where they agree not to make these individual parts available to the general public. In exchange, the device maker will pay more money for the parts. Because you don't have access to these important parts, now instead of you being able to repair your own product how you wish, the manufacturers want you to go to them for all your repairs, and they're willing to go as far as to remotely disable the device if it's tampered with in any manner at all.
Yet least obvious way companies limit repair is by preventing the interchangeability of parts. In a process known as parts pairing, companies assign individual parts like screens, batteries, or sensors a unique serial number. The device's internal software can then detect if those components are replaced and limit their functionality as a result.
However, in recent years, there's been a big backlash to this very tight grip that the manufacturer has on what we can and can't do with the products that we purchased, which has sparked a crusade that's known as the Right to Repair movement.
Well, students and lawmakers gathering at the steps of the state capitol today. Advocates are calling for the Right to Repair Act to pass.
It will soon be easier for you to repair your cell phones and other electronic devices that you own.
Today, Governor Gavin Newsom signed the Right to Repair Act.
And now Colorado is the first state to pass a right to repair bill.
Mainers now have more options to fix damaged vehicles thanks to the state's new Right to Repair law.
This is something called Right to Repair, everything from iPhones to John Deere tractors.
This issue is so widespread that it has spurred an entire movement called Right to Repair.
As the name states, the Right to Repair movement fights against these anti-consumer practices and argues for the consumer's right to repair the products that they own by whatever means they wish. This is a movement that seeks to push forward laws that discourage and in some cases entirely ban these abusive and anti-repair behaviors that these companies love to take part in.
Federal investigators are reportedly looking into why McDonald's ice cream machines are frequently broken.
There are accusations the manufacturer of the ice cream machine machines deliberately built in flaws in order to profit on repairs when their own technicians have to fix the machines.
For example, there have been significant advancements in different states like California that are now mandating companies provide certain parts, diagnostic information, even service literature, as well as the John Deere Tractor Company agreeing to provide farmers diagnostic and repair codes so that they can fix their tractors themselves. This right to repair movement is one that I am in complete support of, and I want to talk about why it's so essential to support this movement today. The first reason we need the right to repair our products is because without it, we lose true ownership of the product we purchase. Now, I've already talked about ownership in a previous video, but I want to delve into how right to repair helps us to get back ownership. Imagine if a man were to sell you a car. That car is now your property. Then, after the sale has already been made, you take the car home and you want to make some modifications to like the engine or something. But as you're getting to work, the man that initially sold you the car comes back and uses his body to physically block you from doing anything to change the car. Everyone would look at this scenario and say, that isn't fair. How can he tell you what you can and can't do to your car? What gives him the authority when the car is no longer in his possession? He sold it to you, so who is he to decide what you do with your own property? Or imagine if anyone tried to make your car stop working the moment you try experimenting with it. Not because you damaged it in any way, but because it was designed to do so. This is exactly what's been going on. But instead of a man that is physically blocking you from accessing your own property, a company is putting a digital lock on your own property. Imagine if somebody put a physical lock on your car and prevented you from doing anything they didn't want you to do with it. People see the man blocking the car and they think, of course, that's a complete overreach of power. He has no right to do this. Take that man and you turn him into an error screen, and all of a sudden it's the owner's fault because they shouldn't have been messing with the device in an unauthorized way to begin with. What these companies are doing, they have no right to do because it is literally property damage, vandalism of somebody else's property. It's not their property anymore. It's no different than taking a baseball bat to a car and smashing up its windshield. The moment that you leave the store, the dealership, whatever, that piece of property, it is no longer their property. They shouldn't have any more control over what happens with that piece of property.
Modern John Deere tractor malfunctions. You can't diagnose the problem without John Deere's software. But John Deere won't let farmers or independent mechanics use it, only an authorized dealership.
How does the manufacturer have the power to authorize or not authorize what you do with something that isn't even their property? I know I'm repeating myself a lot, but for example, Apple. The whole idea of Apple authorized is just so icky to me. Even the name is weird. Who gave you the authority to authorize certain repair shops or not? Like some repair shops are Apple authorized. They'll have that certification, and then some won't. How do you have the authority just because you're the manufacturer of the product? What makes you think you get to decide what is and isn't authorized? The moment I leave the Apple store, it's not your property anymore. Who are you to decide whether or not the place I go to get my device serviced is authorized? Complete overreach of power, and it's really, really nasty.
Ew, you nasty ass bastard! You fucking nasty ass motherfucker! That's nasty, man!
Ugh. Brother, ugh. What's that? What's that, brother?
The next reason I believe we need a right to repair is because the independent repair industry is slowly dying and it will go extinct without the right to repair. Without a right to repair, manufacturers will eventually have a complete monopoly over the repair industry. The man that inspired me to make this video is actually named Louis Rossmann, and he has a really cool YouTube channel. I'll link it in the description. And he is the owner of a small repair business where he does repairs for things like iPhones. And he himself has strongly advised people to stay away from this industry. The industry of electronic repairs, it was once a very vibrant industry and it is dying out, specifically because Apple, the biggest company in the world, is doing everything in its power to ensure that unauthorized dealers have the most difficult time possible when making repairs. Not making parts accessible to third parties, ending warranty if a third party tries to open up the phone, lobbying against right to repair legislation, using media to push a distrust of independent repair shops, etc. Now, there are certain companies such as Apple that have an authorized repair program of their own so that independent repair shops are supposedly able to get the parts that they need. The problem with this is a lot of times in order to be a part of these official authorized repair programs, you have to do all of your repairs their way, the Apple way, and set the prices at whatever Apple tells you to set them at, which is often much more than the repair would otherwise be, essentially making it economically unsustainable. A big part of why people go to independent repair shops is because it's supposed to be cheaper than an Apple Genius Bar. But if you go through the Apple authorized repair program, your prices end up being essentially the same as the Genius Bar anyway, so why not just go to the Genius Bar instead? It doesn't make any sense. It's not only anti-consumer to block repairs, but it's anti-competition as well, and while many larger things like cars can still be repaired independently, the independent repair industry for smaller items and devices is really dying. I'm willing to bet unless there's stricter regulation to stop it, it's probably gonna be dead by the year 2040.
In the arms of the angel.
Another reason why we need right to repair so much is because without it, it will keep consumers dependent on the company. Repair is a dying art, not just for the repair shops, but for the average consumer as well. For example, if your car breaks down, the amount of people that know how to fix their car, how to try solving the issue themselves, it has really decreased over these last few years. Don't even know how to replace a tire. They just call AAA to fix it. Not only are there less third-party repairmen out there, but human beings in general are less resourceful, and they're just much less willing to find ways of repairing things themselves. This goes for not only devices, but for cars, flooring, furniture, etc. In past years, a man was much more likely to try fixing these things himself before replacing it or calling a professional. But now it's like the thought of trying to fix something on your own, it's not even taken into consideration for a split second, especially if you don't work at a blue-collar job. The moment something breaks, everyone just looks towards the professionals, leading us to have this over-dependence on these companies. South Park made a funny episode talking about this phenomenon called You Call the Handyman.
See this? See this? The oven door isn't working. It's falling off the hinges. So what do we do, Shelly?
I don't know.
You gotta make the hinges tighter so the oven door is more secure. So what you do is, you take out your phone and you call the handyman.
This over-dependence on the quote-unquote professionals to handle all our problems, it leaves us essentially at their mercy. It leaves us vulnerable to their ridiculous price hikes that we otherwise wouldn't really need to pay. And it's exactly what companies want, and it leads them able to make more money from the consumer. Speaking of price hikes, that leads me to my next reason: a lack of repairability screws over customers by making simple repairs much more expensive and complicated than they need to be. Being able to repair things only through the manufacturer screws over customers. It's a total waste of money. Remember when I mentioned John Deere tractors? They are a great example of driving up the cost of a simple and otherwise cheap repair. Or take Apple for example. Repairs done by the Apple Genius Bar are 9 times out of 10 a total scam, and they cost much more than an independent repair shop for literally no reason at all. That's because instead of being able to replace individual parts on the motherboard, Apple only lets you replace the entire motherboard. Independent repair shops can fix it for cheaper, they just aren't allowed to. And finally, this lack of repairability, it's just really bad for the environment. And when I say bad, I mean like actually really bad. The fact that people are much more willing to replace broken items rather than trying to repair them has just resulted in like a shit ton of electronic devices ending up in landfills. It's not just phones either. We're talking TVs, laptops, earbuds, game consoles, even electric scooters.
You may be thinking about a new phone or laptop. This morning, Seth Doan asks, at what cost?
These are not the images we see in the glossy advertisements enticing us to buy a new cell phone, laptop, or TV, because this is where many of our electronics wind up.
According to the World Health Organization, which I don't always trust the World Health Organization, but on this, I think they're right, an estimated 62 million tons of e-waste was produced globally in 2022. That amount has been increasing each year. A lot of stuff in our electronics like lithium, cobalt, rare earth metals comes from mining operations that destroy ecosystems, exploit workers in third world countries like Congo. Throwing away devices instead of fixing them means more mining, more pollution, more toxic chemicals leaking into various water and soil reserves in these exploited like third world countries. Repairing what we already have, it's not really just good for your wallet, it's also necessary if you want to minimize exploitation and help the environment. In conclusion, the right to repair, it's not just about fixing your phone, it's really about protecting your right, your wallet, the planet, etc. Without it, we essentially give companies unchecked power over the things we buy. We allow them to overcharge us for basic repairs. We crush small businesses. We contribute to a growing mountain of e-waste. But it doesn't have to be this way. You can support the right to repair by signing petitions and voting for politicians that support consumer-friendly legislation, boycotting companies that actively fight against repairability. The more people who take action, the more pressure there is on lawmakers and companies to make the real change. We are already seeing right to repair legislation taking hold of certain states like California, and I really believe that the more people speak out on this issue, the more the other states will follow suit.